Oops, somebody's here. I won't be all alone. I won't be all alone. Just going to the Twitters. The Twitzers. The Twitzers. Burp. Putting it on blast. And I will start playing in just a hot second, I promise. I promise. Hello! How are you? How you doing? Good. Glad to hear it. So if you don't know me, I'm the drunk phytologist, aka Phyto or DP. I'm blasting this out to a bunch of my friends because they'll get mad at me if I don't tell them that I'm doing this. All right, I think that should be good. Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag. Okay, I did start a new game. Oh, I'm running. It's fine. I did start a new game. I have played this game quite a bit. The last time I streamed, and I wanted to talk about marine flora and fauna, but I'm so terrified of the ocean, and I was playing Subnautica at the time that I was too busy screaming. Just not knowing what to do. So we're like, how about today we'll like do a game that we actually know how to play. Come here, buddy. Yep, for sure. So, I don't know if you've seen this game before, but it is one of the most adorable things on the planet. You. Yay! Hi, Bass! Hi, sweetie. Sorry, I was trying to blast it out to everybody. Everyone was just, if you don't mind. Yes, it is so cute. I absolutely adore this game. I played so much of this. Way too much of it. Oh, it was real bad. Yes. Oh, yes. No, I know. I gotta feed you, jerks. I might feed you my one chicken. I'm sorry, bud. Sorry, you get to leave over here. Oh, thank you, dear. I appreciate that. Yeah, once a few more people get here, then we can start talking about science while you watch me goof around. When I had first started these streams, ooh, good grief. Now I'm thinking about it. Oh my gosh, it might have been a year ago. No, it's even further than that. Oh no. I would just sit and drink a cocktail and answer questions about plants and science and whatnot. But I thought, I'm like, that's a little boring of people just staring at me. So, maybe if I play a game, then it'll be a little bit more interesting. Place for gays games for everyone. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Yeah, no. Yeah. Nope. I have not done any such thing before. Nope. That's 3. Yes. The ultimate recycling. Not problem at all. Nope. And so I'm like, well, if I play a game, that'll be a little bit more interesting while I'm like talking about stuff. I also like making fun of the biology in a lot of these games because it is hilarious. Okay, I've covered the basics. Look how cute my little avatar is. Like, I played this game when it was first out in beta, and it was just the best thing. Oh, it's Cha. I don't know, where is Cha? I don't see Cha. Where's Madam Terry? Yep. It is absolutely adorable in every way. And it just got more adorable as they developed it. Like, I'm just so in love with it. All right, what else do we need to do? We need to get some more. One. Random carrot. Chicken, you don't want to go in there, man. It's a bad idea. Oh, you see them viewing. Okay. Oh. All right. That makes sense. Now I understand. Now I get it. That makes sense to me. I'm just used to her popping in here, right? Like, hello. Here I am. Dry reef. Ooh. So, who wants to bet that this whole place used to be underwater? That's kind of the idea. Actually, I still wonder, okay, how do these carrots grow in this, like, sandstone sediment? How? Oh, lag? Oh, no. I'm sorry. Also, there need to be way more species of trees. Whoa, we're lagging really bad. Oh, gosh. I'm sorry, everybody. Why are we lagging so bad? Huh. This isn't Earth. This moon we're right out. So, I'm trying to teach people about Earth. Try to teach people about Earth while we're on a planet. Actually, I don't need this many pink slimes. Sorry. Pink slimes are a dime a dozen. Sorry, darlings. We are lagging really bad. What's that? What's the deal? We have been having some internet issues at my place, so hopefully that will clear up. Otherwise, this is going to be an issue later for sure. Do I have enough money to make higher walls? That would be a good idea. But no, I don't. Gosh dang. Gosh dang it. Alright, well, eat all these carrots, you jerks. So I had promised Madam Terry, aka Cha, to talk about my favorite organism on the planet, which is actually a bacteria called Agrobacterium. And it is nature's little genetic engineer. And it can transfer a piece of its own genetic material, DNA, or part of its genome, from a particular molecule called a plasmid into a host plant, and that, woo! What do you want? And that DNA can integrate into the plant genome and then become functional and inherited for generations after that. And so that is actually how we do genetic engineering of plants, is we use this bacteria to do it for us. And it has done it multiple times over the course of evolution. So basically, let's see, if I remember correctly, like hops, bananas, sweet potatoes, most tree species, tobacco, oh, and there's a bunch more, are all plants which were genetically engineered previously by Agrobacterium sometime thousands of years ago and are technically all GMOs. By definition. Oh gosh, I can just sell stuff. So that's actually the bacteria I study, and how it does it, why it does it, variety of different ways. Because today, Cha had asked me what different stuff I use in the lab to do genetic studies, and that is one of them. There's also a lot of sort of a dirty little secret of you have a lab nanny, yeah. Uh, so sort of a dirty little secret is that initially during early development of different crops like modern day corn and wheat and everything, um, everyone wanted to find different varieties with different qualities and wanted to increase the genetic variation. So usually the hard way to do this is you travel the world and you get new isolates and you breed them and you breed them, and it takes years and years and years and years and years. And variation occurs via mutation. Now, mutation, unlike, is just a change in the genetic code from what it was previously before. Unlike the movies, there is not a like bad or good one or whatever. You know, it's just an is. Whoops, sorry, bud. And so mutation leads to variation. Some can be beneficial, some can be not beneficial. But the more variation you have, usually the better off you are. So, to hi buddy, to create artificial variation, what was done is that seeds from various, and this was done in the 50s in the US, seeds from various plants were placed next to nuclear reactors and irradiated. And guess what? Oh, hey, pasta. Guess what? If you irradiate seeds, it causes a lot of mutations. And so a lot of our modern varieties have all been modified this way, where they've had somewhere between, what was it? I think it's like 15 to 20,000 random mutations that have occurred because they were irradiated. And so the other day, Chud found, who's been listening, had found these irradiated like cucumber seeds and was like, is this what you do? And I'm like, no, I do not. However, I have used mutants that were made that way from original studies, because then they were used to look at if you had a change and you saw a particular trait. So if something looks a certain way, like is short, or it's got weird leaves, or it's taller, or now it's a different color, that you see is called a phenotype. Okay, is sort of the way something looks or behaves. You, my friend, have told me a lot of new information about science. Don't take this as a gift. Why? What gift? I don't know. I don't need gifts. I don't need gifts. So, what was I saying? So usually the phenotype, if it's going well, is connected to some change in your genotype. And so that is a change in the genome, right? Now, not all changes in the genome lead to observable phenotypic changes. You know, that is not exactly how it works. But sometimes they do. And so this process of finding a change, so is seeing, I found this weird plant, and then trying to figure out which change led to that weird plant, is called reverse genetics. And so actually I'm going to double check this because sometimes I get this backwards, so give me a hot second and hopefully something won't come and eat me. Da-na-na. Gotta make sure this is right. Yep, so Okay, so actually, so let's see. So reverse genetics is basically we have the mutant, right? And then we go back and we figure out, okay, what gene changed, you know. Um or nope, it's the other way. Gosh dang it. Oh no. Now I'm getting hurt. No, go away. Oh, okay. No, no worries. No worries at all. Thank you for coming. I've got to run. Run. Always get that backwards. So this is sort of forward genetics where it's you have a or classical genetics is kind of what it's called, where it's like you had a mutation, you see a phenotype, you go back and you figure out what that gene was. Then reverse genetics is you have the gene information ahead of time, and then after you've got that information, then you make a specific change to that gene and say, okay, what happens? So does that all make sense? I hope it does. I always get confused with those. Na 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 na. I need to figure out a place to put all this food. Man, I am lagging super hard. Why is that? Why is that? Here, guys, give me a second. I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on. Why I'm lagging so hard. Dropped frames detected. Okay. Why is this? Why is this? Maybe we do that and that'll help. Okay. Skipped frames. Why is it so bad? Here we go. Is there something running in the background that is taking up all the stuff? I don't know. Is it really slow? Either that or it's the internet. Maybe. Hopefully not. All right. Maybe we will decrease our resolution. That might help us. All right. We have decreased the resolution. We'll see if that helps with this laggy problem. Alrighty. Excuse me, guys. Thank you. So I was talking about irradiated seeds. Is the lag getting any better or not? Oh gosh. Oh boy. I'm running. I guess not. Either that or I'm not getting any feedback, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Need to run away from the bad dudes. Here we go. Yes, we are ranching slimes. Hi, Air! Oh my god. I was also talking about, about plant-associated microbes and genetics, so if you don't want to hang out for that, that's fine. It's better? Okay, good. Yeah, I just decreased the resolution because it was lagging really, really, really bad. So, it's still kind of laggy though, I think. Science! Yes, Madam Terry. It is science. So, Madam Terry, what kind of science do you want to hear about? Do you want to hear about irradiated seeds? Stay for the ambiance, yes. So, do you want to hear about irradiated seeds? Do you want to hear about plant microbes? Do you want to hear about... Whoop! How dare you bite me? Wanted to say hey. Okay, hi, Air. Thank you. Watch my babies. Watch my babies become Largos. No, I appreciate that. Whatever you want to talk about, honestly. Okay. Well, it's because you had talked to me about those irradiated seeds the other day, and so I wanted to tell you how that was done. So basically they were wanting to figure out to get additional variation amongst the different varieties, and how you get variation is mutations. Now you can do it the hard way, where you try to find natural mutants, deviants throughout, you know, wherever you are, or you can help it along by treating them with things that will cause mutations. And a mutation is just a change in the genetic code. It's not a bad or a good thing. It just is just a change, just an is. And so they figured out that if you put a bunch of seeds right next to a nuclear reactor, you can get a lot of changes. Yes, these are called gordos, and they are absolutely adorable. And I'm actually going to show you what happens once you feed them a little too much. But don't worry. And so a lot of the plants and some of the varieties and stuff that we eat now are all made via that way, and can still be sold as organic technically, even though when they've been irradiated like that, they have somewhere between 15 to 20,000 random mutations. So the kind of genetic engineering, gene editing I do is a lot more precise than that, we'll say. Technology's kind of come a long way. And so what I do is we do what's called gene editing. Whoop, sorry, excuse me. And basically what that means is that I have little proteins which are inserted into the plant. And they are like a tiny little scissors that make cuts on very specific places. And it's kind of like doing copy-paste on your computer, except with DNA. Watch it. Organic mutations, yes. And I have a key. So you see, the Gordo did not die. He just became many babies. Also, break the box. Money. And so, as I said, nowadays it's a lot more precise than that, we'll say. Than it was in previous generations. Yeah, so I do what's called gene editing, which is using proteins that were actually derived from bacteria. Not the bacteria I study in particular. The bacteria I study in particular is what we use to do the delivery of the, I will call it molecular scissors, because it's real good at it. Agrobacterium has spent its whole evolutionary career. Hello, chicans. I'm sorry, you're probably going to die soon. Genetically engineering plants for its own benefit. So what I mean by that is Agrobacterium acts as a parasite in real life. So they either cause what's called crown gall disease or hairy root disease. Basically, it's like plant cancer. So if you've ever seen a tree, most often people have seen trees that have like a big sort of weird growth or bulge on them that's kind of near the bottom of the tree, where it interfaces with the dirt, that's crown gall disease. And basically what that means is that Agrobacterium at one point invaded a wound in the plant and hurrah! Invaded a wound and infected that. Infected that tree. And DNA from the Agrobacterium went inside, integrated into the genome, and then rewrote the genetic code of that cell. So, and cells that it infected. So, what happens then, is that now that plant cell is forced to make food for the bacteria, and the bacteria will then live outside the cell and just basically are now freeloaders. However, it messes up the plant hormones really badly, particularly their growth hormones. And so then what happens is the result you get is the cancer. The cancer is sort of a side effect of this disease. Take all their food. Plants are, yes, plants can get cancer. So what I do is you can take these Agrobacterium and you can remove the cancer-causing bits, which is called disarming. And then you can replace those cancer-causing genes with something beneficial. In my case, my molecular scissors, which goes in and makes particular mutations and particular changes in certain spots. Either can be done to change one variation of a gene into a more beneficial one, can be also done to replace broken genes with better ones. So say something, so for example, one thing that the place I work for worked on was to try to get rid of saturated fats out of oils, because those are very bad for you. And so we use the molecular scissors to make the genes which create saturated fats non-functional anymore. Another example is working on making things that like low gluten wheat. Also trying to make stuff that can be a palm oil replacement so that we're not cutting down all the rainforest to plant oil palms anymore. Stuff like that. So my specialty, yes, nature is the best and also the worst. So a lot of what my specialty is not necessarily working on any specific species to make, like I work on a variety of projects, but mostly my specialty is the delivery part. Is like, how do you get the molecular scissors to go where you want them to go, and an efficient way possible. And how I do that is I use Agrobacterium and modify them and use a variety of different strains. Strains is like just different kinds or varieties. which are then modified and optimized depending on what crop you want to use. So I work on a variety of plant species because technically, if we want to get real weird, is I call myself a phytologist, which phyto just means plant, because I thought, which is not a commonly used word. Most of the time people just say plant biologist, but I think phytologist sounds cooler. That's just a personal preference. Plant bending, yes. I do plant bending. But technically, I'm a plant microbiologist because I work on a microbe that is associated with plants. And it's sort of the interface in between the two. Because I have more training as a microbiologist than I do as a plant biologist. Sorry, everybody. I'm also a molecular biologist and geneticist and a biochemist. I do a lot of things. Plant bender. Whoa. I guess that's a good way to put it. So did all of that make sense? It needs a wicked name. Yeah, that's true. That would be fun. I always like the term gene jockey. That's a joke amongst people. I always like that a lot because you kind of have to, as I said, do a little bit of everything. Oh, I don't have enough money. No. I've been called Plant Witch. I've been called, which I'm a fan of. I've been called, what's that? The Science Fairy Godmother. That one was a good one. Sorry, bud. Even before I got really involved in the Shadow Council stuff, that one's from the Nova Rose. That one was pretty good. But I don't think anyone's quite decided what what I should be. But yeah, now lately I've been having a lot of fun. I've been working on a lot of new strains and varieties of Agrobacterium, and I'm wanting to work on disarming more, and which I probably shouldn't be saying this, and optimizing more for different things. Some that nobody's ever worked with before, or at least not much. So that's exciting and new. We're also working on a variety of new plant species that I've never worked on before either. So that's going to be a fun challenge for sure. So definitely never a dull moment. But yes, so Agrobacterium is nature's little genetic engineer, does it on its own, and has been doing it for thousands of years. So every sweet potato anyone has ever eaten has Agrobacterium DNA in it. So it is technically a GMO. So is tobacco, so is bananas, so is most trees, hops. What else? There's a lot. This was a recent study done by a friend of mine. They had no one had really looked for it before, and it's kind of funny that no one really had, since it's so common anyway. But yeah, it's become more common knowledge now that all organisms' DNA are just full of these little leftovers throughout evolution. Also, guys, I want you to see this. See this stuck chicken? Woo! See, can't be watching the chickens. I'm gonna get in trouble. But yeah, most of our genomes are full of all sorts of little leftovers from over the course of evolution. So, for example, human DNA is full of bits and bobs, viral DNA, other things that were left over throughout the course of evolution. And so We're all a bunch of GMOs, let's be real. Oh no, I can't get into the treasure pod. Never give up, chicken. That's true. I love this guy. He's so cute. Problem is he only eats fruit, so I've got to go get more fruit. If I can get out of here. Ah ha ha. I win. I did it. Hooray. This looks safe. Yes, we're all a bunch of genetic dust bunnies. We're so full of all types of... Wah ha ha ha. Whoa. You knew. We are full of old viral DNA, particles, and all sorts of bits and bobs left over from over the course of our evolution. We also have a lot of invasive DNA elements. So what I mean by that is there are genes which jump. They're called transposons. And it's basically they will pop and move around the genome. And when they pop and move around the genome, they leave mutations or changes in their wake. And so another way to create mutations and variation besides irradiating is through these transposons. So we have a bunch, although most of them no longer move anymore. They've basically stabilized over the course of evolutionary time. But plants have a bunch as well. And if you do hit a plant, like this was commonly done in corn with like gamma radiation for example, like microwaves and stuff like that, that you can get those transposons to start jumping again. And then wherever they jump, they're going to interrupt things and make a change. And so, Fim. Jumping genes are called transposons. This is an episode of 80s children's cartoon. It is true, they are called transposons. There's different types, too. All sorts of types, although I'm not going to get into that today. Because that's going to be pretty complicated. Because otherwise, you guys are basically going to get treated to the eukaryotic genetics class that I helped, that I taught a few lectures for my boss back when I was in grad school. Yeah, I taught a while when I was in grad school. That's a thing. Woo! What happened? What happened? Oh. What? Are the types elemental? Yeah, so, like, for example, the pink are kind of like your default, I guess. Your default type. And then there are ones that are based off of different minerals. So we have the rock slimes here. So Largos are hybrids. And what I like about this game is the hybrids are bigger than the usual ones. And now I'm wondering, does anybody have any clue why that would be? Just for 80s cartoon called it. Yep. So can anyone think of examples of different hybrids in real life? Because now everyone's like, oh no, it's quiz time again. Oh no. Oh no, oh no. She's asking stuff again. We're all in trouble. See, I need to get some different kinds of slimes. Liger is a thing, yes. A liger is a hybrid between a lion and a tiger. And they are larger than lions or tigers. And why do you think that is? There's a term for it when this happens with different animals. And they do this well in this game, where a pink one and a rock slime, when they're hybridized together, are larger than the usual time. Is that a thing? I will admit my ignorance. Thank you, Napoleon Dynamite. They are. I did not know this. Yes, So ligers are hybrids between lions and tigers. And the reason that they're bigger is something called hybrid vigor is the term. And basically the idea is that if you've got two different, that sort of sweet spot of having difference in genetics, will give you beneficial traits of both. And so, for example, all of the corn, many of the modern day corn varieties that are planted throughout the world are all hybrids. And so one of the reasons that they don't want people planting the seeds afterwards, and so this has been some people get all up in a tizzy because they're like, oh, you can't, there's rules against planting the seeds again of the hybrids and they should be able to do what they want. Well, the issue is that hybrid, that mix of genetics, as soon as it goes to the next generation, the mix changes, right? Some are lost, some are kept, and that exact sweet spot is no longer maintained. And so you can't guarantee that it's going to behave the same way as it did before. Mules are also hybrids, yes, between horses and donkeys. Oh, everyone, oh, actually, sorry, I don't have the right kind of pen for you guys. They already jumped out. Get back here. And yes, mules are bigger though. A significant, decently bigger than a horse, but significantly bigger than a donkey for sure. But in mammals, so hybridization doesn't work quite as well. Ew, I don't have enough money. In mammals as it does in plants. So plants more readily hybridize. Versus mammals, particularly, so for example, the ligers and the mules and stuff. Yes, mules are bigger than horses. Yes, in animals they are sterile. But that is not the case for plants, actually. So here, I'm going to take a hot second so I can eat part of my salad. And yes, so for plants, you can get a hybrid between one species of plant and another plant, and that in one generation have a new species. So for example, bread wheat. Thank you. So for example, bread wheat that we have is actually a hybrid of two different species. And it's still evolving. No, give me the chicken. It is still evolving and changing as we know it. So, and one of the reasons that plants are also have an easier time, how dare you, have an easier time dealing with hybridization is they are okay with having extra copies of genes. So now we're going to get into what is called ploidy. So in humans, we have two sets of genes, right? One from our mom and one from our dad. And so that means that we are diploid. So this is just the sort of Latin, like di is two. And so ploidy is the set of chromosomes or the number of chromosomes. So most plants are polyploid. And so what polyploid means is that they have more than two, multiple sets. And so it's not all plants, but a lot of them. And so, for example, wheat, like bread wheat, and there's actually a difference between pasta wheat and bread wheat. Most people don't know that either. It's actually two different species. Bread wheat is a hybrid, and it's actually even more complicated than that. Basically, what happened is two different wheat ancestors hybridized, and so we had one hybrid. And now they went through a genome duplication. So instead of them having 2 sets of chromosomes, they had 4. And then that hybrid hybridized again to a third species. And it went through, and so that means that now the wheat, the current modern day bread wheat, has 6 sets of chromosomes. And so there had been a genome, and so basically that hybrid that was made would technically have 8 sets, and because it would be 4 and then another 2, and it went through a genome duplication. But one of the genomes was lost over evolutionary time. That was like 3 of them were more dominant than the other one. So the other one just got completely lost. And so if you work on wheat genetics, sometimes if you start to try to make the hybrids yourself, the plant will just start hemorrhaging chromosomes. Like from generation to generation. I have a friend of mine who works on wheat genetics, and I do not want to go near that thing because it is just crazy difficult. Oh, and where did you come from? Get back in there. Shame on you. Yeah, so for example, corn has 4 sets of chromosomes, and the modern day corn does not look anything like original corn, which is Seosinte, which is a relative. I don't know if Seosinte is the same as Johnson grass or not, or is that a current relative? But yes, corn is a grass, and the original lays on the ground and has tiny little ears. Yeah, oh my God, wheat, calm down. That are about the size of your thumb. And as I said, all modern day ones are hybrids of the most popular ones was B73 and Mo 17. Mo 17 was Missouri 17 from the University of Missouri. So there's that. Okay, I need to get more money, guys. So corn has 4 sets of chromosomes. Ow. Shoot, get in there. Let's see. What is one? So that's actually another fun thing to think about. The largest. So for a long time, humans believed. Yeah, original corn really stinks. Go ahead and look it up. It's fun because it just like it was really not great. Well, you can kind of see why they're like, yeah, we need to figure out a different solution. Shoot. Well, and also, but besides most things being hybrids, a lot of our fruit trees are all clones. So that's another fun thing. If anyone's familiar with what I'm referring to there. So bananas. If you jump out of here again, I swear. So bananas, like the big yellow ones you see in the supermarket, are all sterile. Because there was a mutant that had really tiny seeds. So, yeah, I know about the bananas. That's right. So they're all clones. All came from the same original tree. And I need a solar shield. No! I don't know. Actually, what I need to do is get this place over here. But the problem is it's a lot of money. Oh, boy. It all came from the same original tree. And so because of that, they have the seeds are so small and so tiny they're not viable. And so all of those, now bananas already kind of readily clone themselves. And what I mean by that is they put out runners. So each time a banana grows up, that stalk will just will make a hand of fruit, and then it kicks the bucket. And so after it makes this hand of fruit and then kicks the bucket, the root stock will put up another stalk, and so on and so forth. And so you just get these sort of big bunches of them all together, of different stalks and stuff. And it's all the same plant. It's just so. Another good example is everyone ever heard of a quaking aspen? Yeah, so it's not that it's not that the bananas got wiped out, it's just that people stopped growing them. There was a variety before the current bananas so the reason banana candy does not taste like modern day bananas is because banana candy is based off of the original favorite banana that did get wiped out by a fungal disease, I'm pretty sure, for the same reason that our current bananas are getting wiped out, because they're all clones. So what happens is if you have an entire variety which are all genetically identical, if they get hurt, if they are susceptible to a particular pathogen, all of them are susceptible to a particular pathogen, and they will all get sick and all get wiped out very quickly. So genetic variation, so when people are talking about trying to conserve environment, trying to conserve different species, it's to conserve genetic variation. Because the more types of species and varieties we have, the better off we will be, because if there is something like a nasty pandemic level pathogen, nobody has any idea what that's like right now, there will be some individuals of a species which are susceptible, and then there will be some individuals of a species which are more resistant. And so the idea is the more genetic variation you have, the better off you're going to be, so that if some don't survive, at least you have some that will. And that those who do will continue on to the next generation and have that resistance gene, and so on and so forth. And so, for example, when that occurs, so when that occurs in nature, if you have, for example, a population that goes through some sort of disease cataclysm or whatever, and only a small number survive, that will create what's called a genetic bottleneck. And so then you have a limited amount of genetic material for the next generation, so that everyone becomes more and more the same, over time. The other thing that can happen is if you were blown to a desert island and there's only a few of you, when you're blown to this desert island, you can get, and there's a small number of individuals, you get what's called a founder effect. So similar sort of result when it comes to genetics and biodiversity. for two different reasons, is the best way I can put it. I need to figure out what to do with these phosphor slimes. Poor things, I can't just keep carrying them around. Yes, but a quaking aspen is a tree that puts out runners and will put up multiple trees, but they are all genetically identical, right? Because they all came from the same root system. They all came from the same original plant. And so what had been believed to be the largest organism on Earth for a long time was a quaking aspen grove in Utah, in the United States. And here, let me look this up real quick because I can't quite remember how big. Its name is Pando. So let's see. Pando quaking aspen. Okay. Also known as the trembling giant. So it's what was called a clonal colony. And so this particular tree is also a male. So most flowering plants are hermaphroditic, are both male and female, but not all of them. So quaking aspens are either male or female. So Pando is a male and was determined to be a single living organism because it's all connected by one massive underground root system. So it occupies 43 hectares or 106 acres and is estimated to weigh 6 million kilograms or 6,600 short tons, and is the heaviest organism on the planet. And it is on the Colorado Plateau in central Utah. Unfortunately, right now, they think it might be dying, and they're not exactly sure why. The largest organism on the planet is actually a honey fungus that is somewhere in the northern part of Michigan. Yeah, basically, it is an ant. This is basically what it is. Now, there's some fascinating organisms out there for sure. A little bit of what I was talking about ploidy earlier too, with the multiple sets of chromosomes and stuff like that, is that so for a while, because humans are humans and we're arrogant, we thought, well, for sure, we must have the largest genomes because we are the most advanced, whatever that means. And so the Human Genome Project, which went over the period of like 20 years, was trying to figure out sequencing the entire human genome and then figuring out, all right, we must have the largest one, because the very first genomes that were sequenced were viruses. Not that surprising. They're small and easy to deal with. And so we found out, yeah, our genome's not that big. Like, we're pretty mediocre, middle of the road, in comparison to, let's see, even middle of the road in like mammals, like not even that interested. So the largest genomes belong to, guess what? Wonder if you guys can guess who the largest genomes belong to. It's not the size of the genome, it's how you use it. There is something to that. That's true. But then we're going to get into very complicated gene expression stuff, and I don't think we want to go there tonight. I don't think you guys need that. I don't think I need to go into how your genome is read and the central dogma and a bunch of other stuff. I think I'm gonna lose everybody. I didn't think you came here for genetics and molecular biology class. The largest is actually found in a plant. It's actually a particular kind of fern. So, actually should look that up. Let's see. Which fern? I think I just got hit by something. Oops. I should probably move. I'll be right back. All right, I'm going to get out of the bite zone. All right, now we're out of the bite zone. Okay. Oh, yes. So it was a type of fern, but actually most recently found that it belongs to a Japanese flower. New as Paris japonica has 149 billion base pairs. So base pairs are the number of pairs of letters, which makes it 50 times the size of the human genome. Until now, the biggest genome belonged to the marbled lungfish, which is 130 billion base pairs. And I did see a wonderful... Yes, ferns are old. I guess you would say that they happened early in evolutionary time. And so there's sometimes this kind of misnomer of like, oh, well, they were around when the dinosaurs are, therefore they are primitive. And it's like, no, that's not really the case, because they've been evolving alongside us the same, for the same amount of time. That's actually one of the reasons that there are so many different species of ferns. There's like 30,000 or something crazy. Like, it's insane. And basically what that just tells you is that particular design works really well. Because because if you were alive during the time of the dinosaurs and you're still alive now, it's working for you. It's working for you real good. Yeah, it takes a good grief. That's just showing off, isn't it? It takes its tiny genome to go home. That's right. Well, and even sometimes you can have a very, like, as you said, it's not the size of the genome, it's how you use it. There is a particular type of carnivorous plant that has it's a type of bladderwort that, captures underwater prey. And it has a very compact and small genome for the amount it does. And it's just because it's very highly specialized and very efficient, So sometimes it's just, figuring out your niche is the technical term, the evolutionary niche. Now, humans, we are chock-a-block full of a bunch of extra DNA. Also, look, these chickens are still there. Feels a deep kinship with the bladderwort. Yes, bladderworts are really cool. I actually have thought about doing, when I do eventually, yeah, cannibalism is no joke, make my micro folk one shot. So this has been a request from some other nerdy people, because most everybody here probably knows that I run small folk D&D games, which is, D&D, but as tiny woodland creatures. I was requested by one Ember's Tide, who a while back, when he found out that I was a microbiologist, to run D&D, but everyone plays as microbes. And so I actually thought about, yes, microfolk. So I have thought about how I would do that. And I also thought about, is part of the adventure having a bladderwort be a monster? Or a type of living trap, basically, was an idea I had. So hopefully someday, when I'm probably running it for some of you guys, you won't remember this particular stream. and the schemes I've come up with. The schemes. Oh goodness, there's so many of you. But yes, I do have to do microfolk. I also have been asked to design underwater small folk and Australian small folk. So maybe after I'm done running our spooky games, I'll just make a whole bunch of one-shots. Just a whole bunch of variety of one-shots, and we'll see what everyone likes the best. How's that sound? Because it's definitely a fun thought experiment for sure. Because I'm a nerd. Wee, that's right. Sorry, everyone. A lot of this is just picking up stuff and trying to make money and feeding my slimes. Gosh, what have we not covered yet? Goodness. We could start talking about symbiotes. Look at these cuties. Look at these cuties. They're like, oh. Start talking about symbiotes. We could start talking about other plant-associated microbes. We could talk about all the microbes that live inside you. And microflora. Let's see. We can talk about how this is the world's neatest looking beak patch. That is not accurate whatsoever. Symbiotes, sure. What kinds? There are so many kinds of symbiotes, though. Do we want to talk about... Okay, so maybe I'll put it this way. Do we want to talk about micro symbiotes? So, like, ones you can't see? Or macro symbiotes? So, like, animal level. Okay, bye-bye, Bess. Oh, Pasta's back. Pasta, I did not know you were gone. Let's see. When did you leave? Or maybe you just... Plant bender. Whoa. That's fine. So, got caught up in something. No worries. Not a problem at all. So no, so Pasta, we are trying to. I'm polling the masses on what type of symbiotes. So Cha said we should talk about symbiotes next. So then, what kinds should we talk about? All symbiotes are interesting. Yeah, but do we want to talk animal level, or microbe level? Because like that's like those are whole like symbiotes themselves is like a whole stream. Suckerfish on big sea creatures. Those are good. That's true. There are lots of... You have remoras. You've got a variety of different cleaner fish in the reefs that come out. And that will be on, like, green turtles, for example. I have so much food in here. Gosh dang it. That will come and associate... There are some that live with, like, whale sharks their whole lives. And sort of come around... and that will feed off of the different parasites and stuff that live on those fish. So actually what we should talk about is the definitions of symbiosis. So a symbiosis is just an interaction between different individuals, okay? And so, or actually... An interaction between different individuals is called like a mutualism. Of two different species. So, in the case of the suckerfish on the big sea creatures, that would be a type of symbiosis. And so, let me double check that I'm getting my terms here correct. And so a symbiosis is sort of these two interactions, right? And symbiosis is when it's beneficial, right? Mutually beneficial. So actually, a symbiosis is just an interaction between the two. A mutualism. So there are different types of symbiosis. There is mutualisms, there is commensalisms, and there is parasitisms. So a mutualism is both benefit. So for example, like your those chickens are still stuck there. So for example, your suckerfish on big sea creatures. That is a mutualism. They both benefit from that. A commensalism is where one benefits and then the other one is just doesn't really get bothered much, right? It's not hurting or harming. Parasitism. We'll talk about parasitisms in a second. So, why is it my cats? You've got cats too. So, a commensalism is it's like they're not harming or hurting. So, for example, you will have different like lichens on large plants, epiphytes, which are little plants that don't need dirt to survive. They just live in the air, like an air plant. Their host plant, whichever one that they're kind of hanging off of, that's sort of a commensalism. They're not really hurting or harming that sort of situation. Just like, they're there, you know. And there are a lot of interactions within biology which are commensal. So the commensal, like that one that would be the fish that eats the tongue of other fish and then replaces it. Yeah, something like that, right? You also have parasitism, and that is a type of symbiosis. However, one gains and the other one is actively harmed by it. And so I didn't want to talk about my cats as necessarily. I still don't have enough money. No. Gosh dang it. Although, I do have a key. I forgot I had a key. So, what is a fun sort of symbiosis? And actually, we found that in some cases, some plant-animal relationships that were originally thought to be like the animal does all the work, right? We've actually figured out are not quite as, or it's like, oh, this is very like kumbaya, right? They help each other. It's not quite that nice. So recently, an example of symbiosis, and this was originally thought to be that is in acacia trees and ants. So there are particular species of ants that will live in an acacia tree, and under the thorns of the acacia, the ants will form these little colonies, and the plant will form a sort of bulge, which is called a gall, right? It's similar to like the tumors that form in the cancerous ones, but all galls is kind of like that sort of tumor formation, but it's not necessarily a cancer. They can be benign. It's already getting gross at the tonguefish, yeah. They can be benign or not, and so they'll form these galls that these ants live in, that they'll hollow out and they'll, live in. And it was like, oh, well, maybe it's because the ants are there. This is maybe like commensalism, right? Where it's like the ants benefit or, and they live on the plant. Or it's like it's symbiosis because then the ants have this nice place to live. And then the plant gets protected because anything that tries to eat the plant will get attacked by the ants. And so But they recently found out that when these ants show up, the plant itself makes chemicals inside of its bark and leaves that when the ants eat it, now the ants can no longer eat anything else, or it kills them. So these acacia trees actually have enslaved the ants. So yep. And so we're finding more of these types of relationships that initially was thought that a plant was a passive partner in it, and we're finding that is maybe the exact opposite of how this works. And so it gets very interesting because plants are nature's chemists, and they have gotten very good at chemical warfare on a variety of different levels. And they have a little house and it's kill me. Yes. They have a little house and it's like, oh no, kill me. It's true. It's really true. But the thing is, like, most plants have to, so to be able to get nitrogen from the atmosphere, they have to have symbiotic relationships with a fungus or a bacteria. Could you bring me something to drink?
We have water or milk.
Orange juice.
Orange juice.
Bring me orange juice.
Okay. Or, well, yeah, that's what we have that you can drink.
Yep. But sorry, my darling husband came by and I requested a beverage. Oh no! Ha ha! I want to eat the slimes. They are very cute. They are very cute. I have not even tried to figure out the biology of these things. They're absolutely adorable. Although it does make the most sense that this planet was at one point completely underwater. Makes definitely more sense, at least biologically standpoint. Although someone did point out earlier that they're like, we're not on Earth. We're not on Earth. Stop trying to apply your rules. It's more subtle than the plant or the fungus that just grows inside the insect's brain and forces it to climb and turn into a zombie. Yes, that is a fungus.
Cordyceps.
It is called a cordyceps fungus. And that is the genus. So everything has like a genus and a species. So there are a variety of species. Can I help you, dear?
Just trying to decide what I want to do for food.
Okay.
Grab a sandwich or something if I just want to eat breadsticks or something. I don't feel like cooking.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll believe it.
How long you been though?
Oh, maybe like a half hour. Huh?
Oh, I'm gonna run and get food.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring anything.
Sure.
Okay. I know what you like.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to get those gold plorts, everybody. That is like 375 something or other monies. But yes, the cordyceps takes over. So there's a variety of different types of cordyceps which do this to all sorts of different kinds of bugs. So not just ants, although that is a common one. But it changes their brain chemistry. And makes them climb to a high branch. And then when they get there, the fruiting body of the fungus. So a fungus, so for example, like a mushroom, that is just the fruiting body of the fungus. The majority of the fungus is still underground. So when you pick a mushroom, you're not killing that organism. because the fruiting body is what releases the spores. So basically what's happening is you just picked and ate the naughty bits of that organism. But you didn't kill them. They're absolutely fine. And so the cordyceps the fungus lives inside of there, and then it produces the fruiting body, which then erupts from the head and then sprays out the spores. I'm sorry, what? What? Which part, darling? Which part? Which part? Runs away crying. What did I do? Now I'm scared. What did I do? I scared everybody. I didn't mean to. The naughty bits part. Yes, so, okay. Mushrooms are the fruiting body, the reproductive organ of the fungus. So, that is, you have to talk slower. They're simple creatures. No, oh yes, I agree. I agree. That was mean. Don't worry, he didn't know this before. I had just told him this some other time. Now he's trying to pretend he's all smart like he already knew. Which he might have remembered from a previous lesson, or he might not have. I don't know. But don't let him make you feel bad. This is a common misconception. So yeah, the majority of a fungus is under the ground and is made up of these fine hair-like structures called mycelium, and it's basically like a living net or web. And so the biggest organism on Earth that I told you about, the honey fungus, that covers like kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of area, is mostly made of that sort of living web. And so the majority of plants, so I was talking a little bit earlier about how they have to get nitrogen from the atmosphere, is they get that by making symbiotic relationships with either bacteria or fungus, and specifically with these hair-like structures. I got a PhD by proxy. All right, Pasta. You've known me for 2 years. My husband doesn't even claim to have a PhD by proxy, and he's been with me for a decade. And has learned and forgotten more than I have ever told you. I was very proud of him on a business trip where he was telling people how pineapples grow on the ground. And different things about the plants in the Philippines when he was there for a business trip, because of the things that he has absorbed over time from being with and living with me. I'm a fast learner. All right, fast learner. All I gotta do is ask you a name of an NPC in our campaign. No, this is what I gotta do. I just need to ask you the name of the different characters of the players in our D&D campaign and see if you actually get them all right. Because he certainly can't remember those. Ever. But he's a fast learner, I'm sure. But yes, to your original comment, Dar, I'm sorry to tell you, but mushrooms are the reproductive parts, or the fruiting body, of the fungus. So yes, you are eating the reproductive bits of the fungus. You're welcome. I'm sure you can now sleep at night. That is a way to put it, yes. Pasta, what is the name of Adriel's character? Okay. What is Ethan's character's name? Pasta had to look up his notes, I bet. Okay, I will give this to you. I concede for now, unless you did look at your notes and then you're a cheater. I won't ask you to remember different NPC names, even though the ones you just met, because I know you won't. Those chickens are still stuck there, by the way. I totally did for Bass's character. See, there we go. I only did for Bass's character. I did not. I was all offended. I do remember that the other day when I was asking you about somebody was asking you about the one shot that you designed and ran, and then you sent me a message and then asked me if I remembered what you did. I didn't, but I kind of did. I remember. Because I have to. Oh, run away, run away. Whoops. Oh, no. Gosh dang it. Actually, I should use this key. I made them up the spot. I'm an improviser who doesn't take notes. I'll make up lots of things on the spot. I'm also an improviser, but I take notes. Where are we now? Are we back where we were before? Is this just a shortcut? I feel like I've been gypped. Gypped, I say. I was saying that was pasta. I didn't have to look at those, but you know, coming in. Hurt. No, you get. I did not jump you. I did not jump you. I only wanted you to put your money where your mouth is because you had made a claim that by hanging out with me, you have a PhD by proxy. Yes. He did do that by claiming he had a PhD. Oh no, I can't take I want to take this toy back. Usually, I let a lot slide, but I will not let that slide. I suffered for way too long. It's kind of like when you see like some white male like TV show host who claims that they're a doctor and they really aren't. But no one ever bothered to question it because it's a white male dude. If a woman did that, that would never last. But I might have opinions. I just want to sell you my oils. Yes, they're essential. PhD by proxy. Not a real PhD, something similar. Nope, not the same thing. Not even close. Now I'm confident pasta's full of shit. No, you are. Yes. Sell you my oils. Yes. Positive PhD, crits by proxy. Yeah. I'm gonna let you know something. There's no such thing as a PhD by proxy. That is not how it works. You can keep thinking that as long as you'd like. And I am well within my rights to tell you that you're wrong. Okay, so which one should get the toy? I've given the ball to the kitties. Gosh, now I've forgotten what we were totally talking about. Gosh dang it. I got on my soapbox. Ooh. Different way, different. Let's pick subjects. Pet peeves of DP. Let us name them. I derailed the science. The science is off the track. That is true. I'm sorry, darlings. I need to get you more, chickens. You're hungry. But, yep. If we want to figure out, big DP pet peeves, one of them is a man claiming he has expertise when he doesn't. That would be a big one. We were talking about symbiotes, yes. A variety of different kinds. And also was talking about how trees have enslaved certain ants to do things for them, which is fun. Ooh, should we talk about intracellular symbiotes? That would be fun. Expertise by proxy. Just drop it. Just drop it. So, yeah, intracellular symbiotes. So, if I say the word Wolbachia, does anyone know what that means? I'll wait for just a second. Because this is going to flip your shit. Vampires. No, not. Yeah. No, that's Wallachia. No. Wolbachia. Wolbachia. No wallabies. Nope. We're not back in Australia again. Nope. Nope. Anyway, Wolbachia is a genus of bacteria that live inside the cells of insects. And they basically have gotten to the point where they can no longer live outside of the insect. They are what is called an obligate symbiote, right? Obligate means that they're obliged to be with them. And so they have gotten to the point where this relationship is so strong that the insect cannot live without them either. Because some of the amino acids, and so amino acids are the building blocks for proteins, some amino acids which are within the insect, the insect is no longer able to make on its own. It actually has to have the Wolbachia bacteria make it for itself. And so these Wolbachia are actually sort of chock-a-block full within these insect cells. And so they had discovered that sometimes if you wanted to Yeah, they're institutionalized, right. If you wanted to basically have see what microbes associated with certain insects, there was actually, I went to this fantastic talk by this one scientist who was working on aphids and trying to figure out what bacteria associated with aphids, because aphids could spread disease. They wanted to know, okay, how do these diseases end up happening and getting into these aphids? And so they had to make or figure out how to get aphids that had no bacteria, like clean, basically, to be able to study them and then look at the different species and be like, okay, within the aphid, and say, okay, this one causes this disease, this one causes this one, blah, 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 blah. Well, what ended up happening was, so they treated the aphids with antibiotics to kill the bacteria. And they're like, okay, this will work great. But they ended up killing the symbiotic bacteria, the Wolbachia, on the inside of the aphids. And then all the aphids died. And so it's like, well, that won't work. That won't work. And so they found out these Wolbachia basically have basically become like, they're within, like, so the reason I say it's interesting is, like, yeah, a little awkward, right? So the reason I say it's interesting is most of the time, like, all of our microbes that we have within our body are within our body but outside of our cells, right? So there's some that live amongst our cells, in our gut, in our blood, on our face, you know, in different parts of our body. But the Wolbachia have gotten to the point where they are intracellular. So they are actually inside the cells. And so the organelles, so that's another term, organelles, within our bodies. Sorry, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of this food. Are thought to have originated from intracellular symbiotic bacteria. So the mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of our cells, were actually at one time, most likely, bacteria, like Wolbachia, that eventually lost their ability to live on their own. And we lost our ability to live without them. And so there is quite a bit of evidence for that, actually. And they think that that also occurred with chloroplasts, which are what allow plants to photosynthesize. Oh, bye, Dar. Thank you. Okay. Now, Cha, I need to... What are you... Yay, DS9! Whee! Now I've got to figure out what are you about this time. No sorries. No sorries at all. We're probably going to wrap up soon. I found I can't really stream much for more than about 2 hours. Later. Have fun, yes. Enjoy the thing. Do the thing. Okay. Where did that door go? Now I'm confused. Our mitochondrial what's it thingamabobby. Yes. So do I need to explain what mitochondria has learned all the science. Yep. And so one of the reasons that there's thought that mitochondria or chloroplasts were basically their own selves, their own bacteria at some point, is they have their own DNA separate from the rest of the cell. And so within your cells, not only is your own genome within the nucleus of your cell, But there's also a whole nother mitochondrial genome. And usually in like school, you'll learn like there's one mitochondria and there's one endoplasmic reticulum and there's one this and there's one that. Well, actually, there are usually multiple mitochondria, and the number of mitochondria is dependent on the type of cell. So, for example, come here, Bubby. Get back in there. So, for example, like a muscle cell and will be chock-a-block full of mitochondria. But another cell that doesn't use all of that, like a fat cell, for instance, that stores adipose tissue, won't have a lot of mitochondria in it. And I mean, red blood cells don't even have nuclei anymore. They don't have hardly any organelles at all. Look at all that food. And that's because they're just big old sacks of hemoglobin to be able to bind oxygen. That's all they do. Oops. Trying not to get injured too bad. Woo-hoo-hoo. See, you know those tabby guys? I need to make you hybrids so that I can feed you different stuff. Oh no! I'm just reacting to everything you say. Well, I appreciate an enthusiastic student. We'll say that. It always makes teaching a lot more fun where the people are actually interested in what you're saying. Oh boy. Actually, that's something we should do. What kind of hybrid should we make these guys? They're so cute. What kind of hybrid do we want to make? We have the kitty ones. I think we've only ever seen... How did you get out? Gosh darn! Ooh. You silly children. Get back in there. How do you bounce out so well? Oh. See, I'm gonna need to get an air net. Oh gosh, I still don't have enough money. No. Oh, you naughty children. I even gave you a ball and everything. You're still trying to escape. Get back here. Alright. But yes, we've talked about intracellular symbiotes. We've talked about there's intercellular symbiotes. So inter means in between cells. So there are certain fungus which live within different grass species that live in between the cells. And so they make those different hyphae or whatever. And they actually produce... So there's quite a few fungus produce these compounds called alkaloids, which are poisons. And so plants which have these symbiotic fungus that live in between their cells or whatever, are actually makes them either unappetizing or straight up deadly to herbivores. And so most plant defensive compounds are anti-herbivory compounds. So they call them plant defense responses instead of the plant immune system. Even though it's technically a type of immune system, it's very different from ours. So they call them defense instead, because everyone likes to be different and have their own special names. But a lot of our medicines are actually made from plant compounds, which are natural insecticides, actually. They evolved to help the plant defend against attack from insects in particular. And so we call them anti-herbivory compounds because dose is the most important part. So something that is toxic to a bug has to be at a much lower dose than to be toxic to a mammal such as ourselves. And so we actually evolved over time to and found to be able to use these plant compounds, because as I said, plants are nature's chemists, as medicines, because quite a few of them have antifungal and antimicrobial, so like bacteria, properties, because that's how the plant protects itself from pathogens and different things like that. And so we can use those as well to be able to fight infections. It's tougher than a bug, yes. Well, and there's also plenty of compounds which are just kind of like just making it clear that it just doesn't want to be eaten. So for example, capsaicin is a defense compound. Capsaicin, which is the spicy stuff in peppers and hot sauce and whatnot, is toxic to insects, will kill insects straight out, and is also an anti-herbivory compound because it's supposed to keep mammals from eating them because it hurts. And the reason for that is because those plants, pepper plants, want to have their seeds dispersed by birds. So maybe I should explain this to you a little bit more, on that birds cannot taste capsaicin. They do not have the taste receptor for it. And so because of that, a bird is not bothered by those whatsoever. And the reason for that is that the plant wants its seeds to be eaten by a bird, because a bird does not chew. A bird just swallows everything whole. And so the seeds will pass intact through the gut and out the other side. And so because of that, they made the capsaicin to keep mammals from eating their fruits. Because mammals chew and would break up the seeds and kill the seeds. Now, humans, for some reason, yep, they do. They poop the seeds. The birds poop the seeds. It goes straight through the digestion, right? They're just there to eat the fruit, which they can't taste the spicy part. So who cares? But humans, for some reason, like pain and eat this stuff. Even though the plant did it, they like, oh, it's a good pain. No, I'm not really quite sure where that evolved, honestly, because it makes no sense. I could see that theory, yeah. Honestly, I haven't done that. So when it comes to biology, and I'll tell you all a fun secret about me personally, I basically have avoided studying anything to do with humans because I think they're overrated and get enough attention as it is. So I know next to nothing about human biology or anatomy. I know quite a bit about genetics, and that's only because I have a degree in genetics, and humans are always used as the example, even though we are excruciatingly boring when it comes to being genetically interesting. Actually, I had originally wanted to go to school to be a geneticist, and I thought I would be like a genetic counselor or go into like medicine or whatever, research, until I found out how excruciatingly boring humans are to And then I found out that the most complicated genetics are that of plants, and then the rest is history. Oh, gosh. Well, and then I got fascinated with the immune system, and then I started studying microbes, and I also thought they were super cool. And then I'm like, but how could I do microbes and plant genetics? Oh, what a conundrum. And then I found out about a microbe that actually genetically engineers plants, and then I'm like, it's my destiny. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. So yeah, there you go. I'm the ultimate nerd. Woo! Yay! Humans not hard enough. Yes. That is literally what happened. I'm like, this isn't... I wish that wasn't true. But yeah, like with most things, I've made awesome choices. Well, thank you. I appreciate that people think I made awesome choices. Because usually when I tell people, when people find out about what I do, it's usually I'm at... So it used to be the question I always got was when I was going to cure cancer. Now the question I get is when I'm going to cure coronavirus. Have to break it to them that instead I, dedicated my life to a different world-ending problem. Yeah, sorry. Oh, gosh. Well, I appreciate that you guys think I've made awesome choices. But yes, I am the person that's like, humans not hard enough. Let's do something more challenging. Let's get something that's got half a dozen different sets of genes, because why not? Let's just get real wild up and crazy in here. Oh, that's fun. But are you hungry? You're welcome. That's true. That's actually why I'm an essential person, because I've been busier than ever. Because everybody's still got to eat throughout all this nonsense. Everybody's still hungry. And so everybody's buying seeds like nobody's business. And wants plant-derived products. So here we go. That is what I do. Burf. Okay. Cancer schmancer. That's true. Yeah, I can... Okay, I'm going to say an opinion that would probably start a fight on Twitter. But I'll say it here because you guys are just my friends. Cancer is a first world problem. And the reason I say that is because 30 times more people die from starvation and malnutrition than die from cancer every year. But in the country I live in, nobody cares. Because we've got people dying from being too fat. So there's not a whole lot of support going for plant science or food and nutrition and sustainable agriculture research since like the 50s. Yeah, you have to live long enough to get cancer for it to be a worry. That's true. That is true. My first question to geneticists would be about the possibilities of prehensile tails. I would love to go on a plant tumor hunt. I take all sorts of pictures of plant tumors whenever I'm out. I collect them because I'm a weirdo and I find them fun. But yes. But it is usually easy to get funding for cancer research because basically Humans only ever really care about something if they have skin in the game, is the best way I can put it. If it hasn't touched their life at all, it might as well not exist. So here, no one has any concept for ever, in most of the developed world, has never had any concept of ever being hungry. Because they can get whatever they want, whenever they want, basically all the time from the supermarket. I mean, a few people are experiencing that now with different shortages and stuff, but it's usually easy to get cancer research because almost everyone knows somebody who's had cancer. It's touched their life in some way. And I don't blame them for that. That's just sort of how it is, you know. We are very, let's say, narrow-minded, generally speaking. Our perspective is narrow. It's usually one of the reasons that history has a tendency to repeat itself, because history started the day you were born. And anything before that, if it hasn't affected you personally, might as well not exist. That's just kind of how it is. Oh, my hungry babies. I know. I should have brought you food sooner. Here you go, dears. Oops. Get back here. Ah! Alright. Thinking about wrapping up soon, unless anyone has some other burning questions. This was a fun discussion today. We got into all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I guess selfish or shelter could be. And as I said, I don't blame anybody. It is a quirk of the human condition. It's the same reason that we have. So there's a quirk of the brain. One of the reasons people get nostalgic about stuff is actually because our brain, to deal with trauma, on purpose, does not remember bad things. Only remembers good things. Even when things were bad, objectively speaking. Our brain downplays it to basically just help us deal with the stress. And so because of that, there's sort of this fallacy that occurs where it's like everything was better before whatever, right? Or when I was younger or whatever. And it's only your brain does that for you as sort of a kindness so that you just don't wallow in regret and, you know, drive yourself crazy by what coulda, woulda, shoulda, you know, forever. And so because of that, one of our great superpowers to be able to move forward is humans have an amazing capacity to forget. But it's somewhat necessary as a coping mechanism, because if we didn't forget, we would never have wars, but we'd also never have babies. So sometimes there's sort of, I've heard a good quote before where it's you've got to decide nothing worth having is never ever happens without some sacrifice of some type, some work, something you gave up. And it can be absolutely wonderful, but there are a lot of wonderful things we have made that also had some terrible things happen when they did happen. And so you've got to decide on do I want to live in a world that has the pyramids in it or not? Because the pyramids are amazing type of human invention and ingenuity and creativity. But then thousands and thousands of people died making them. So you gotta wonder, was it worth it? And I guess it just has to be up to you. I'm very sleepy, but I'll think of some of these questions for next time. Depression brain does not do this. No, depression brain does not do that. Now, I understand that one completely. That has to do with other neural compounds and fun stuff that I don't know much about. But yes, so if anyone wants, this is Slime Rancher. I know I didn't explain sort of anything about the game. There are problems with it of the one, there is not near enough plant life to establish this kind of ecosystem. There's there's only like 3 or 4 species of tree and only a couple species of vegetable. So I think I've said before, I think I streamed this game before, and I said, with the limited number of species here, there appears to have been some sort of cataclysm that hit this planet at one point and wiped most everything out. Unfortunately. But, oh well. That's kind of that's what I think sort of happened. Because that's the only thing that made sense. You know what, I'm just going to leave these guys be free range. They're just happy little guys. I'll just leave some fruit out for you guys, and you can knock yourselves out. We must rebuild the slime world. Don't worry, I will. I'm helping. I'm helping rebuild the slime world. But yeah, it is an adorable game. It's very fun. It's very relaxing. Definitely not a high skill level, certainly, because if there's anyone... I'm not an anti-gamer, but I'm certainly not a video gamer. I can follow basic instructions. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's on Steam. It's been around for a while. It's got a fun little story. And you just walk around, collect stuff, upgrade your things, make happy little slimes, go adventuring. We only went to like one new area, but there's plenty of different areas, so. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up there for today. Thank you all for joining me. I know we went a little bit off topic. I didn't stay exclusively with plant microbes, but we just talked about a whole lot of fun stuff. So maybe I'll do this every other Tuesday. So if anyone has any suggestions of other topics and things they'd like me to talk about, or different games and stuff, just let me know. And this was a lot of fun. Thank you. And have a good night, everybody.